Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is 12 o'clock Central Time, and that means it is time for another session of Wednesdays with Wayne. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join me today. We're going to talk today about what I believe in our marketplace right now is hands down the most important thing for y'all's business, and I'm going to give you some reasons why. We've called it ramping up your past client systems. I don't want to get into, sometimes people are like, well, you shouldn't call them past clients. It's referral based, whatever. You get the gist of this, right? This is people that know you, like you, and want to deal with you. This is what I would call the line in the sand, guys. This is a huge, huge issue for us in the real estate industry. We've got to be maximizing this play more so than we ever have, because of the market forces that are going on. I understand, believe me, I talk to clients all over the country every week. I was on the East Coast all last week. I understand that this marketplace has made a shift, and it's got some of us stuck, and we're gonna talk about that, about the mental side of things today. But I want to propose to you that what we're really seeing is this is just now come to fruition what's been in play for going on almost 20 years as it relates to the real estate industry. And it's time for us to really step up our client relations program. I think it's crucial, and I'll just get into this and lay out the reasons why. Obviously, as always, we're going to have a time for question and answers at the end, but if you feel the need to ask a question, please do. We have, as you know, if you've been on here before, we have no problem stopping and digging into an issue as it comes up. But guys, today's conversation, I think, is crucially important. I can't overstate how important today's topic is. So let's get into it. So Colin Cowherd, you guys have heard me use this quote before just because it's my favorite quote. Most people go through their whole life and they never get leverage, and that's really sad. That's really too bad. But what's worse is when you have leverage and you don't use it. And that is absolutely what I continue to see week after week and month after month in our industry, is we have a huge leverage point. Y'all have a huge leverage point as individual agents and teams, and we're really not maximizing the play. And the reality is, as an industry, we never have. So here's the premise. You're here, right? You have leverage. I'm going to attempt to try to show you how to use this leverage. It will define your businesses moving forward. I know this is a lot of really extreme statements I've made in the first 2 minutes of this, but I'm very passionate about this. I believe this is where we are as an industry right now. I'm going to show you why. First thing is, this market that we have now, I think this is the marketplace you're going to have for the next 24 to 36 months. And what I mean by that is you're not going to see listing inventories increase. The inventory numbers are going to continue to bounce along the bottom. We are going to have very little inventory for the foreseeable future. All right, couple of reasons for that. Number one, new construction is not going to be able to catch up. And when it does catch up, it's catching up in the upper price ranges. But more importantly, the average consumer in the United States is now living in their house 13 and a half years. That's a number that I got from NAR in a NAR report a couple of weeks ago. So we've already gone from a 7-year window of people living in their houses up to 13 and a half years. And then that number, I think, is going to elongate because we have a lot of people that refied at 2.5%, 3%, maybe 3.5%. And I don't think they're going to be getting back into the marketplace. So I'm hearing via my clients, I'm hearing a lot of agents that are saying, I'm just waiting for rates to drop because everything's going to get back to normal. Guys, there's a new normal. And it's not the way that we used to do this. I'm going to give you some analogies today because I'm an analogy guy. But I'll give you some reasons to really hopefully make you stop and think a little bit and maybe adjust some things in your business. You've heard me talk about this before. There's 4 kinds of time in life. Number one, every moment of every day we're operating in one of the 4 kinds of time. The first time is playtime. Now, we all want high quality, high quantity playtime, right? We want to go do the things we want to do, make the money so we can take the trips, eat in the restaurants, whatever that is. What we don't seem to really put into place regularly is that the quality and quantity of your playtime is directly proportionate to the quality of your pay time, not the quantity of it. Okay? We all want high quality, high quantity playtime. Well, if you have high quantity pay time, you don't have any time to go play. So we have to get better at the pay time. And in order to do that, we have to have high quality and high quantity prep time. And this is really, we're going to talk about two issues today. We're going to talk about the quality of your pay time, i.e. the quality of the various pieces of business that we could go generate. But we're also going to talk about the importance of you guys spending more time in prep than ever before, all within the context of your business model, because there is this fourth kind of time that's the stuck time. And that's where I see a lot of people being right now. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. It seems like there's so many, the things that I was doing before perhaps aren't working as well. Or somebody said the other day that an agent in their office said, these people that should be using me are not using me now. And that's because of a shift in the way that we do everything. Today's market forces, quite honestly, are going to thin the herd. And I'm going to show you some stats here in a second. As the vast majority of real estate agents, people with real estate licenses, are ill-equipped to deal with the market forces. The reality is, as an industry, we are not equipped overall as an industry to deal with a marketplace like we are in right now. And that will force people out of the business. NAR would tell you there is a 12 to 18 month lag before people will, and I'm seeing it, I'm feeling it right now, before people will actually make the decision to exit the industry as we've seen them do in the past. They'll tend to hang on for a year or so, you know, thinking, okay, things will get back to normal, won't they? There's a new normal. You've seen me do this before, but I want to go through it again. 10-year increase in agent count, 58%. So we have more people in the industry now, 58% more people in the industry now than we had in 2012. And Warren Buffett said, you only learn who's been swimming naked when the tide goes out. And I think as a general rule, I was just talking to a client this morning in their particular market, number of transactions are off 25 to 30%. I had another conversation after that with another client, different part of the country. Same thing. Yes, the transaction numbers are down. There is no doubt about that. All right. But there are still transactions being done. The difference is how the consumer is selecting the real estate agent they're doing the transaction with. So in 2021, National Association of Realtors had an average net gain of 8,406 agents per month. Through November of 22, we were averaging an increase of 4,134 per month. Then we saw this big flip go on at the end of the year, probably because dues were due. From January the 1st to February, the end of February of 23, NAR membership dropped 72,000, largest 3-month drop since December to February of 2009 and 10. And as a general rule, we thought, okay, here we go. We're going to start seeing the agent count tumble. We're going to get rid of the agents that aren't doing much, and that's going to leave more business for the rest of us that are still here. Yeah, I hate to tell you, but in April, NAR added 10,503 new real estate agents. All right, so we're continuing to have more and more people get into the industry. I think that has a lot to do with people wanting to work from home, people wanting a side hustle, and they're all out there grabbing real estate licenses and figuring they can sell 1 or 2 a year. That is a thing. It's always been a thing in our industry. So I just want to let you know that, hey, the numbers are not staying on this downward trend. I always think that there's data that tries to support a lot of the things, a lot of the strategies, a lot of the patterns that we see. So here's the thing. Consumer behavior, we as people, we as consumers, have changed. We have changed the way we do everything now. And a lot of it's because of online, well, not all, virtually because of online. So as a result, the game for being a real estate agent has changed. There's no doubt about it. The selection process is changing behind the scenes. People are not feeling it, not seeing it like I'm seeing it, just because we have a different perspective because we work with people all over the country. The biggest change in the last few years is while real estate is local, what is driving consumer behavior is no longer local. Online reviews, guys, specifically Google reviews, now carry equal or greater weight than personal referrals. And because of that, you've got to fortify your ability to garner and successfully convert personal referrals. And you're going to have to work harder to do this than you've ever had to before. Let me say that again. You're going to have to work harder than you've ever had to maintain the people that you have. Because what's happening across the country is consumers are using online reviews either to A, find an agent, or B, to use it as a qualifier or a filter for real estate agents. And we have to get ourselves in a situation where it's a stop traffic referral for people. And there's a way to do that. I mean, there's no doubt there's a way to do that I'm going to lay out for you today. This is the biggest shift that has happened with consumers. Because we've already lived in this world, all right? Amazon has massively changed the world of the big box retailer. People go to Amazon now. Now I can't see you all raise your hands, but I just want you to do this mental exercise with me if you would. I would ask you, in a live session like last week on the East Coast, I'm like, raise your hand if you have Amazon Prime. And I will tell you that 80% of the room raised their hand. And in 4 different events that we did last week. And then the follow-up question, or the thing that I would say, is if you remember when we first got Amazon Prime, and I have Amazon Prime, my wife gets on to me all the time because it tends to be my first place I go, but it's the first place most people go now. And used to, we would go to stores, and then if we couldn't find it in the store, we'd be like, well, I'll see if Amazon has it. Now Amazon is our first place that we go to. Well, that is exactly what is starting to happen, okay? It hasn't happened yet. The indicators are there, to me anyway, that this is starting to happen in real estate. And you can head this off. That's the message today. We can head this off. You must head this off, because the online play is designed to do exactly the same thing to you guys, all right? So we've been in a real turmoil in the industry. We've talked about this. 2021 was so overheated. Nobody had time to take a breath. We were all so busy. That lasted to mid-year 22. Then things started shifting the other way, a lot of it because interest rates went up, right? But I want to propose to you today that what you're feeling right now, if you're feeling this in your business, really started about 20 years ago. Okay? I actually wrote about this in 2004. In a presentation that I did. And I talked about the fact that it seemed like because of online, that real estate agents over time were going to be marginalized and repositioned. You were going to see and I could show you the slides. I have them from the entire presentation, Phil, that we were going to be marginalized and repositioned. We're going to start to see tremendous pressure on interest rates, and that real estate agents were going to have to make some kind of a choice. And that was either go cheap or provide an unbelievable customer experience. I am starting to see indications of this across the country, guys. We're starting to see some of the NAR stats as it relates to the listing side of the equation. People are starting to interview more agents now on the front end, where the NAR stats would tell you 80% of people only talk to one realtor. I've just in the last few weeks, we're starting to see more and more people interview. All right? This is a huge issue. Here's the interesting thing about Google. Google has done what Zillow has always tried to do. Google now has people going to Google to find a listing agent. All right. This is a very subtle yet tectonic shift in our industry. All right. And I'll give you the exact example here in just a second. Maddie, I see we have something in the Q&A. Do we have a question?
We have a comment about Prime also being free, and then it started with a low yearly fee to get the next day shipping. Now you have to pay over $100 for a yearly fee. We aren't guaranteed 2-day shipping anymore either. Just kind of some comments about the Amazon changes.
And thank you for the comment, whoever made that. And I would tell you, you're going to see exactly the same thing happen with Zillow. In the beginning, it's free to get the eyeballs. And then they're going to start trying to monetize it because Zillow is still losing money. The buy side of the transaction today, buyer's first move, absent a strong referral, is to go to Zillow. Now, Zillow's losing money every quarter, but JP Morgan keeps giving them a vote of confidence, which means that once they get enough eyeballs, they'll start monetizing. And you're going to see the same thing happen. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. They've gotten into mortgage, they're getting into various other products, and maybe the properties are just the fuel for that. But guys, it's hitting our industry now for the first time. It's happened to other industries. We've talked about this before. But the world, the online world, is trying and successfully doing it at this point to trying to make this very, very transactional. So moving forward, the marketplace is going to belong to the agents who can do a few things. Number one, have the capacity to have unbelievably great conversations with people. All right, you have got to work on your dialogue with people. I'm sorry, I know this sounds old school. It's never been more important than today. Number two, also not only have the capacity to have the great conversation, but have the willingness to, being willing to really upgrade your game. And where we're going to do this is in our prep time. So I'm proposing to you today, spend more time prepping, more time practicing, more time working on the subtle nuances of the business than ever before. And then thirdly, it's going to belong to the people who have massive past client and client care systems. Because the game that's being played on us is to take this online, to make it transactional. The reason that Amazon was able to do this with the big box retailer is because the big box retailer didn't provide a boutique experience to us. This is where we are in our industry today, guys. It's where we are. I see it. It's crystal clear to me. So remember, 70% of real estate agents do not make it 18 months. Why do they even make it 18 months? Because they go through their very, very close friend group early. And then they've run through their really close friends. They didn't learn really how to be really good at this. And so their really close friends turned around and didn't refer them out to the next tier of friends, and therefore they leave the business. But 87% of realtors, which that number is up 4 percentage points now, do not last 5 years in the business. 80% of sellers, as of today, still only talk to one real estate agent before they list. You're going to see that number drop. You watch. It's going to take probably 3 years. You're going to start seeing that number drop because more and more people coming out of a really hot market of 21, more and more people are starting to wonder what a real estate agent does for me. And 39% of the people that an agent talks to are the result of a referral or a relationship with the agent. So here's our playing field today. We've got to get those numbers up on the referral and relationship side of things.
We have a question in here, Wayne.
Yes.
How or who do we get with to register with Google to get reviews or to register with them?
So interestingly enough, we talk about this, and we decided literally today we're going to do a session on this in a couple more sessions. Okay, We've got some stuff that's already scheduled. We're going to talk about active prospecting for the next 2. And our next session is going to be walking you guys through how you do this. Okay. You're going to need a Google business page, and you can literally Google business, how to set up a Google business page, and it'll walk you through a tutorial. But in a few weeks, we're going to get into the nuances of how many reviews, the proper way to try to get this. And I'm really going to try to help you guys with this because it's a big deal. Okay. It's a really big deal. So give us a couple of weeks, a couple of sessions, and we'll be doing it. Do we have another question?
We do. Someone would like to know where the stats are coming from and if they could get some references.
The stats that I just laid out are coming from the NAR profile of buyers and sellers and the NAR membership profile.
Perfect.
Okay. So you guys have seen this before.
I have one more question.
Okay.
It says, are Zillow reviews better than Google reviews?
No, not now. Google reviews are where it's at. Interestingly enough, so there's been this bifurcation in the business. Absent referral, okay, absent a strong referral, buyers go to Zillow, sellers are going to Google. Okay. Now I want to talk specifically about the seller side of the transaction for a second, and I don't mean to bore you guys with old stories, but I think it's important. Prior to all of the online activity, the loudness of online that we have going on now, let's talk about how a consumer walked their way through finding a listing agent, okay? And this also, by the way, this conversation creates an opportunity if we understand the game. So people have always used a great real estate agent again, and again, and they still do that today, right? If my agent is really good, my agent is still in the business, they did a great job, I'm in flow, they're in flow with me, I'm going to call that person again. But if I strike out there, and when you have the average consumer in the U.S. living in their house for 13 and a half years now, according to NAR, and you have 87% of the realtors washing out after 5 years, while I've lived in my house for 13 and a half years, there's been almost 2 complete iterations of the real estate business that have come and gone. So at some level, I can't call my person again. So then what's my next move as a consumer? Same as it's always been. I ask my friend for a referral. And if I strike out there, this is where the real shift has come. If I struck out there in the old model, I would call a name realtor, right? I need to sell my house. My agent, my agent either wasn't good, or they're not in the business anymore, whatever. My friends don't really know anybody. I'm going to go call a name realtor. Well, how did I figure out who the names were? It was quite simple. It was print advertising. Okay. Those of us that have been around a while, we spend a lot of money in print. You'd look in the newspaper, you'd see which agent had the most listings. You'd look in Homes magazines, whatever those things were. That was the way we did it. Today, what we do is the first two legs are exactly the same, but the third leg is Google. Because I don't have access to print anymore. I can't figure out who the name realtors are anymore. So I go to Google. Now, this creates an opportunity for you. If you maximize the Google thing over time, you can get enough reviews out there to where you rise up. You've done all the validations and all the things that we'll talk about and we'll show you. And all of a sudden now you're a name. So that's where this is transitioned to. It's out of print and it's over onto the Google side. Now, talking specifically about the question of Zillow. Remember when Zillow used to tell us it's all about the reviews, it's all about the reviews, it's all about the reviews on Zillow? Well, number one, Zillow has always wanted to get to the listing side of the equation. They haven't been able to do it. It's a buyer side driven platform. The leads that you get from Zillow are buy side leads. I have listened to so many Zillow calls, I don't even know, probably proportionally more than anybody else has. I have yet to hear one consumer say that the reason they contacted the person was because of the reviews. Not one time. The consumer is still confused about the whole Zillow platform. So the reviews would be a big deal if Zillow were able to capitalize on the listing side. They haven't been able to figure out how to do it yet, in my opinion, but Google has. That's why Google reviews are such a big deal. We Google everything now. And somebody told me a couple of weeks ago that Bing is trying to make a big AI play. And, do you think that will make more people go to Bing? And I said, to me, Google's become like Kleenex and Band-Aids and Jell-O. I never heard anybody say, let's Bing that and see what it is. But I hear people every day say, well, Google it and see what it is, right? So I think they have such a market presence now that I think Google reviews are where it is. But here's the bottom line, back to the business bullseye. So we have the general public. These are the people that we were just talking about. They don't know you. They don't like you. Your value is one that's created by marketing, i.e. reviews in today's world, and response time, right? Because I have a whole lot of agents at my fingertips, literally with my phone. So at the very first level, how do you win the game? Enthusiasm and speed. Answering the call when it comes in and being enthusiastic and having great dialogue and differentiating yourself with the first contact. Well, now better than that, we have our acquaintances. Now, these are people who know you and like you, and given the chance, they'd use you, but given a chance, they'd use somebody else too. These are the people that you sold a house to or you sold a house for, but you don't have the protocols in place to stay in flow with them. And so they go back out sometimes and either hire a brand new agent that's a friend of theirs, or they bump into somebody in an open house, right? So an acquaintance level is a low level relationship. Now, better than that is your network. They wouldn't think of doing a transaction without you, but they're not necessarily telling their friends to use you. And the highest level, obviously, is the advocate. They know you, they like you, they'll always refer you. And not only do they refer you, it's a stop traffic referral. It's like, you've got to use this person. So ultimately the game, right, is to move people to the advocate level. How do we do that? Number one, fantastic customer service. Number two is contact, right? Number three is being nice to people. So I would contend to you all this, that the next time you have a closing, right, at the closing, because you did a great job for your people, they're an advocate for you. If someone called them the next day and said, I need to sell my house, oh my gosh, you've got to use Madeline. She was just wonderful. We just had a closing with her yesterday. Gosh, we had all these problems, but she handled them all. Da, 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 da. Please understand something. People don't stay there. They move, and they don't move closer to you over time. They move away from you. This is the key dynamic that has to be dealt with at a high level if you're in the field. Ultimately, they become acquaintance, and ultimately they go back out to being the part of the general public. This is what leads to agents making the comment, as one of my clients said, one of their agents made the other day, the people that should be calling me aren't calling me anymore. This is the game. This is the business bullseye. This is why there's been so much money invested over a long, long period of time to get between you and the consumer. They were willing to lose millions and millions of dollars a year because ultimately, in the long game, they'll do this just like Amazon got rid of Toys R Us, right? We used to all have small toy stores, small boutique toy stores. Toys R Us comes in, all the boutiques go away. Then Toys R Us hooks up with Amazon to do their online order fulfillment. Amazon goes, we don't need Toys R Us. And ultimately, Toys R Us goes away. And now Toys R Us is reinventing themselves as what? A small boutique toy store. This is y'all's sweet spot. This is where you can win, you can thrive. We want to, in some cases, we want to use the portals and whatever, the Google reviews, to go out and find new people. We don't want our people to go back out to Google. Okay? This is what I see playing out right now nationwide. Differentiation is absolutely the key in the marketplace that we're in. Differentiation's actually always been the key to this. And it happens before, during, and after a transaction. okay? It's not an event. It's just like who you are. You're different. You're better. The number one action item, I think, is to embrace some kind of a CRM, all right? Now, before we go down the rabbit hole of which CRM is best, the best CRM, okay, is the one you'll use. It's that simple. And I mean, if the one you'll use is a bunch of index cards or a Rolodex, that's your CRM, and I'm totally fine with it. We get so down rabbit holes of talking about the best CRM, you know, do I use this, that, or the other? It doesn't matter. Whatever you'll consistently go do, whatever works for you, whatever you're willing to put the prep time in to understand it and set it up properly, that's the CRM for you. But it is important that we have some kind of contact management system. Before the transaction happens, here's kind of how this business now works. It's your opening dialogue. Now we're in a world where that business is referred to you or not, how you answer the phone, how you start a conversation is huge. The materials that you have, I've talked to you guys about this before. Materials you're going to find are now a huge differentiator, right? Using video, having pre-listing packets, having buyer packets, having something you can drop off. It's called the law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity says that if I give you something, you're more likely to give me something in return. We got to have different touch points. Maybe you're going to throw a Starbucks gift card in with the, so if I contact you because of a Google review, an open house, whatever, we've got to be using these things, right? A little quick video, right? Every time you have a conversation with someone, shoot a quick video, drop it in your phone, use the same video every time. Just wanted you to be able to put a name with a face. Thank you so much for the conversation we had today. I look forward to future conversations, just in a video. Send that out after the phone call is over. No one's doing this across the country, guys. I'll just tell you. I was just on the road last week, 4 different cities. Nobody's doing this. Got to have pre-listing packets, buyer packets. If you put in a Starbucks gift card, sure, why wouldn't you? Maybe you send them the video, the buyer packet, if that's what the conversation was about. Maybe you send them a little mug and a little bag of tea, and you say, I can't wait to sit down and have tea with you. Something to differentiate you, to provide a better experience than what the customer expects. And then the process. What process are you going to take me through? And then follow up. How are you going to follow up? This is where you need to be sitting down by yourself, prepping. Right? Get a 3-ring binder, a spiral notebook, and start writing down how do you provide an unbelievable customer experience from first contact. I had the pleasure of helping lead a mastermind group last week, and that was one of our questions. How are you providing unbelievable customer service? And I would tell you all today, how are you providing unbelievable customer service starting at the very first contact that I have with you? Now we got during the transaction, right? That's your listing presentation dialogue. How good is your listing presentation? How good are you at explaining and uncovering the things that need to be covered? How about your buyer presentation dialogue? We've gone through both of these things earlier in the year. Expectation dialogue for dealing with you. Are we covering that? How are you going to communicate with me if I'm your client? What are your guarantees that you'll make me? And then how are you going to market my property, right? What staging are you going to do? Are you going to do professional pictures? We've got to be looking at everything we do now, because the money is being played for this to be very transactional. So we have to do the things that the portals can't do. And the portals can't provide an outstanding customer experience. That's what we have to be working on. And during the transaction, maybe you just keep dropping little notes and little things to people, right? During the transaction, massage certificates, a handyman, Lowe's, weekly check-ins, just want to see how you're doing. Oh, you sound stressed, send them a massage certificate, right? with a little note that just says, hey, you sounded stressed on the phone the other day. Go have a massage on me, right? Perhaps as you're giving feedback to a seller or whatever, or you have a buyer that's frustrated with they can't find a house and they're getting stressed out. Send them a massage certificate. Strike a deal with a spa that you only have to pay for the ones that actually get redeemed, right? Maybe you give them a Starbucks, right? Like during showings, it's like, hey, go have a cup of coffee on me. Maybe you bring in a chef, have a private dinner after they move in. What can you do to make this an unbelievable customer experience? Because if you can do that, the quality of your referrals will go through the roof. All right. I'm going to give you an example of all of this. All right. Every personal touch should be accompanied by a note explaining, hey, here's why I sent you this massage thing. You sounded a little stressed. I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to work with me. Now, I want to lay out an analogy that I came up with last week. I am in no way, shape, nor form comparing what you all do to a lawn maintenance company. But I want to lay out a scenario for you because there is somewhat of a common theme to what you all do and the guy that mows my yard. And here's what it is before I start this. The thing that is the same is pretty much all the lawn mowing people will charge me the same amount of money. Well, pretty well, real estate agents are all working with the same financial model. Now, I need to find somebody to mow my yard. I call two different people. They come out. The first guy comes out. He looks at my yard and he tells me, hey, I can mow your yard for $100 a time. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to talk to somebody else. And the guy leaves. The next person comes in. They tour my yard and said, I can mow your yard for $100. But they give me a little something while they're there, right? They give me perhaps a folio that tells them and it has testimonials in it, right, about from their other clients. And then right after they leave, then they send me a little video. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to give you a bid on your house. I certainly hope that I'm the person you choose. By the way, they pulled up in a really nice, clean vehicle. And the first guy, he wasn't that clean. Given just that set of facts, who would you hire? Same money, you'd hire the second person. Now, flip the script a little bit. The first person was referred to you, but here was the level of the referral. I need a yard person. Oh, I got a guy. I can have him come by your house. Second person does all the things, the protocols I talked about, right? Who you're going to hire? You're going to hire the second person, even though the first person was referred because it wasn't a strong referral. Now, here's the third scenario. I need a yard person. Oh, you need a yard person. Well, wait a minute. You need my yard person. The lines are never anything but perfectly straight. They are wizards at edging and with weed eaters. And there is literally never a blade of grass on my driveway. Here's the guy's number. In fact, you want me just to call him for you right now. That person will trump the guy with the materials that I don't know. That's where real estate is. Are you getting those kinds of referrals? Okay, we can position this, and I know I sound like I'm preaching, and I don't mean to, but I kind of mean to. This is such a huge deal for me. The level of service that we need to be providing can be done, and it can only be done by you as an individual. And when I say individual, I mean by you as an individual or you and your teams. Maddie, I see we have another question.
We do. Someone is asking, is doing a CMA and dropping it off to past clients a good idea? Maybe customers that bought in the last year. Yes.
With the proper messaging, yes. That, hey, a lot of people are wondering about the value of their home today. And much like a stockbroker would call you and say, hey, let's sit down and talk about your portfolio and what the values of it might be. Yes, very good idea. Very good idea as a touch, right? That brings value to the client. Very good idea as a possible way to find somebody that, as a prospecting technique as well. But yes, no doubt about it. After the transaction, once we close with the people, contact. I'm going to tell you it's 24 times minimum. All right. Contact should be varied and valuable. Here's what we know now. It doesn't matter how you contact your past clients, just that you contact them in a myriad of ways, meaning not always the same, right? Perhaps it's direct mail, perhaps it's email, it's some calls, it's some text, it's some pop buys, as they say, right? Doesn't matter, but we got to get to a minimum, and I mean bare minimum standard of 24 times. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of other strategies as well. Maybe you have an anniversary dinner for them, right? This is the first anniversary of you purchasing the house from me last year. Maybe you send a chef over to their house as they prepare a meal. Sit down by yourself, sit down with people in your office, mastermind these types of things that you could be doing. Or you could have client parties. Now, a lot of people are having a client party. What we're now discovering is we need to be having client parties 4 times a year. I'm going to show you a model. Some of you have seen this before, but it's with a client of mine, and they are absolutely crushing the past client thing. How often should you focus on client systems? How often should you spend time by yourself thinking about how do I provide a better customer experience for my people? Every day. Every day. Every day, you should be sitting there thinking about how do I make this deal better? Who do I need to contact today? Who do I need to thank today? Who do I need to reach out to today? It should be part of your daily routine, is dealing with your clients. So we have 2 issues that we deal with. And this is the reason this thing goes south. Number 1 is the size of people's databases. All right. So we tend to have like 2 or 3 different things going on. We have like the size of a database, and then we have a subset of that database that we feel like are our people. All right. I'm going to tell you that I firmly believe that success actually comes from smaller databases of people, not larger ones, and more vibrant engagement with this smaller database of people. Because this database can get so big that you really can't contact them effectively and with value. And you miss people that were ready to do something because you were out contacting someone that wasn't. All right. So I'm going to tell us we need to pare down our databases. We're going to send you, Maddie will send this out to you, a couple of letters that I personally use to pare my database down. Without telling the whole long sword tale, I reduce my database by having people take steps toward me, if you will, rather than me going, oh, I think they'd be good and they'd be good. No, I created a scenario via these letters, a client survey, a couple of dinners. I wanted people to take a step towards me once and for all. Are you one of my guys or are you not? And my theory was that if I gave you 2 chances to step up and play, and then you didn't, I was going to delete you from my database. It was a leap of faith kind of thing, guys. I had 1,450 people in my database. When the dust cleared, I had 356 people in my database. But my business doubled. It was an eye-opening experience for me years ago. We need to be doing the same thing. Don't let those databases get too big. You do not want a database larger than you don't want a database larger than the number of people you can make feel special, if that makes sense. So at the end of the day, here's kind of what it boils down to. The easiest business model of all is be good, be nice, and stay in touch. Be really good at what you do. That takes prep time. Be very nice to everyone. That doesn't take any prep. That's just being a nice human. And the last piece is stay in touch. So if you're really good at what you do, right, that's the mirror test that I've talked about before, looking in the mirror and saying, I'm really good at this. If you're really nice to everybody and you stay in touch, your business is going to scale. I mean, it has to, because you're doing a good job. You're staying in touch with people. They're not forgetting you did a good job. You're nice to everybody. Why wouldn't more people want to use you? But if we take one of these 3 things out of the equation, your business starts going like this, right? Your business goes up and down and up and down. It stalls out and then it gets busy again. And And we know nationally, this is the real estate game, right? This is what real estate agents do on a national scale. They get really busy, then they have no business, and they get really busy again. And I think it revolves around these three things. The key to it is we're not staying in touch with people like we should. All right. Here's the model. And a lot of you have heard this. I want you to just write down a number right now for me. That is the number of people that you feel like are your guys. The number of people that you feel like know you, like you, and want to deal with you. Not getting into how often you contact them or anything else. How many people do you feel like are referral sources for you / past clients you know they would use you again? How many people do you have? All right? And I want you to write that number down. If you don't have any idea what that number is, take a guess. How many people do you think know you, like you, and would want to deal with you again? Now take that number times 5 and take that number times 5%. The first 5 represents that each of those people know 5 people in the course of a year who will buy or sell something, right? And then we model out a 5% closed rate on those people. We acknowledge that 95% of the time you either don't get the referral, they forget to refer you, they referred you to somebody, but they already had a relationship with another realtor, they're upside down in their house, they don't take the job transfer, they decide not to buy, whatever the reason. It's only a 5% conversion rate. But I'm going to prove to you in just a second, given that we have the proper client protocols in place, your number of people times 5 times 5% is literally the number of transactions you should be doing strictly by referral. All right, so do that math for me real quick as an individual. Take the number of people that you think are your guys times 5 times 5%. Now, if you're watching this in a group setting, right, I know some people like bring in pizza and watch these as an office. If you're in a group, raise your hand if you're at or above that number. My study, nationwide study for the last number of years, tells me there's not very many hands that go up. I was on the East Coast and I was in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and New Jersey last week. I brought this up every time. Out of 4 different agent sessions, there were less than 10 hands that went up in 4 states, right? 4 different sessions. And I've done this all across the country, guys. I know this is the issue, and this is the very thing that the portals are counting on. This is what they're counting on, is we're not doing this, and it's a small business issue. It's not just real estate. We could make this comment to everyone. It's a small business issue. We spend disproportionate amounts of time, energy, and effort trying to find new people versus taking care of the people that we have. But this is the number. Now I'm going to show you the model. So we get it intellectually, right? I've yet to have an agent that didn't say, you know, I ought to be doing better on past clients. I ought to be doing better. But we're not putting the protocols in place to do it. Why? Because we're not spending enough time prepping. We're not spending enough time practicing, really spending the time to play the long game on this deal. I would tell you, you need to subscribe to Keeping Current Matters if you're not already. Because if you're contacting these people the way that you should be, you're going to need content. And Keeping Current Matters, and I don't get paid anything by them, Keeping Current Matters to me is the #1 portal for real-time real estate information. There's no doubt about it. I think you ought to start a closed Facebook group for your past clients. If you haven't done this already, it's huge. I'm going to show you some examples in a second. And I think we've got to really focus in and hone in on upping our number of contacts to more than 24 times and optimally 36 times a year. And I know that sounds like a lot, and I know a lot of you are thinking that would just be creepy for me to contact people that much. But it's not. If we use the protocols on the front end to make sure they've taken a couple of steps towards you, you're one of their people, or they're one of your people. So it's not creepy at all. If you need to grow your database, how about leveraging Facebook? There's normally a huge disparity between the number of people we think we have in our network and the number of Facebook friends that we have. Well, what if we use the DMs of Facebook to see if some of these people could possibly become referral sources. So here's the message you could send them. I'll use Madeline as an example. Hey, Madeline, it's Wayne. I was wondering if you have a realtor you use or would refer business to. If not, would you consider using me? Now, if they answer in the affirmative, well, yeah, Wayne, I'd think about using you. Great. Could you please send me your email address and home address? I've got some great events coming up this year for my clients, and I want to make sure you get invited as well. Will everybody that's on your Facebook list do this? Oh, no, they won't all do it. But I want them to take a couple of steps toward me, right? So the first step is, would you consider using me? Sure. Great. Send me your email and your home address. Or if you don't have any of their information other than just your Facebook friends with them, send me your email address, your home address, and your cell phone if you would. Try to get them to take steps towards you. Now, if they do that, they've raised their hand to you twice. And what I know is they don't have a great relationship with their realtor, or their realtor has exited the business and they don't really know who they would call. And your goal is now to become the hub of the wheel for all those people. This is why, guys, year after year after year, I've always said there's always room for talented people in real estate sales, because you can get in the business and people will just start using you because they can't remember who they used before, or because of the volume of agents in the industry, their experience wasn't that great. So there's always room for talent if we do the right things. Here's a case study. This is Remax Energy, Yukon, Oklahoma, clients of mine. We went on a quest. Brian Woodward, who runs the office, went on a quest 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, I guess, to do this. So same model, number in network times 5 times 5%. For their office, they have 975 people in their universe as an office, right? So these are people that they've identified that have taken a couple of steps toward them. You take that times 5 is 4,875 times 5%. The model says that they should do 243 transactions strictly by referral. Last year, they were able to do 230 strictly by referral, nothing else. The 94.7% efficiency within the model. Their top agent, which I'm going to show you his closed Facebook pages here in a second, had 137% efficiency. He did 41 closed transactions from a sphere of influence of 120 people. Now, if you were one of the 8 agents that have been there the entire 2 years, your business increased from 107 to 199 transactions as a group, strictly by referral. Strictly by doing a good job, being nice to people, and bridging the gap for the third leg of the stool, staying in flow with them. How are they doing it? They're doing it with 4 client events a year. Y'all ought to have client events. You're not doing client events, you ought to start having client events. The key, I believe, one of them should be that it is not a come and go drop by event. It actually has a stated beginning and a stated end, right? They do a deal called, and I won't go into all the details, but they do a deal called Paint and Pour, where people come in for a couple of hours. 4 years ago, 20 people showed up for Paint and Pour. 2 weeks ago, 275 people showed up for Paint and Pour. Along the way, they do a video announcement, goes out to everybody, inviting them to it. There's a phone call follow-up, an Evite that goes out. In other words, their touches, we're always worried about getting these 36 touches in. Well, if you're doing the events and you do it properly, you've already got 24 touches built in just around the event, and then just a monthly mailer, perhaps with information that you got from Keeping Current Matters. All of a sudden now I'm hearing from you 36 times a year. You are really good at what you do. You are really nice. I'm going to always use you and refer my friends to you. This is Ryan Lerma. He's their #1 guy. He created a closed Facebook group. You should create, guys, you all should have a closed Facebook group. This is a very simple, ongoing way to interact with your people, right? So here's just a couple of page shots. Ryan, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Ryan, joining you, welcome our newest members. He does this for everybody that comes in. Then back in November, this Cody Bruce said, I need somebody to help me with Christmas lights. And people started chiming in, hey, call my person, here's who I use. What we're trying to do is we want to create a scenario where all of our people come to this portal for real estate information, not just selling houses, not just buying houses, but what about maintenance people, all things housing, right? And you create this little group that you're in basically control of, if you will, right? A lot of agents join BNI groups, those business networking groups. So this is just like your own BNI group that you run. Here's another example. So Tony Isa is in Angola, Indiana. He has a deal called the Isa Connection, right? Exactly the same type scenario, except he does it a little bit differently. Every Monday, he does a Monday giveaway. This is an example of one back in March. Comment on your favorite Starbucks drink to be entered to win a $10 gift card. 5 winners are chosen tomorrow, right? So he's basically giving $50, putting $50 a week into his past client system. Okay, $200 a month. This is the portal. You'll see 23 comments down there, seen by 133 people. So 133 of his past clients saw this that week. Tony did an event not too long ago at a skating rink. Basically, he rented out a skating rink. He had prizes for his people, heavy hors d'oeuvres, beer and wine. He just worked the room, said, thank you so much for being one of my people, right? Not to the level of a paint and pour, okay? Not because, and actually paint and pour is very logistically a hard thing to pull off because there's a lot to it, but anyone can go do an event like this. And there's a value now in being one of Tony's people, right? And that leads to more referrals. I just saw on Facebook where Tony closed or has under contract a tremendous amount of property for the month, right? Guys, this is where the business is. I laid all this out in Pennsylvania last week, and I had an agent come up to me, and I laid this out and some other concepts, but this young guy comes up to me, and he said, I got to be honest with you, you kind of scared me. And I said, dude, are you new to the industry? And he said, yeah. And I said, then get after it. You just got to get after it. That's all it is. You got to do something to get in there and inject yourself into the deal. We're going to start with the people that you know, and then if that's not enough people, then we're going to have to use the Google reviews. The Google reviews right now, if you're new to the industry, if you can get out there and get you some Google reviews on a regular basis, you're going to start moving up in Google, and you're going to become kind of a player, right? So here's the final thought I have. Disruption always creates opportunity in every market, every single solitary time. So don't focus on the fact that our business is like, oh, what do I do? There's always an opportunity anytime there's disruption. Spend some time by yourself, think about it, try to see around the corner, where is this headed, right? Like, where's the money going to be flowing? Then go stand in the middle of where the money's going to be flowing. The money flowing for us, quite honestly, is fortifying past client systems. May the 31st, for those of you that don't have enough people in the queue, right? You don't have enough people referring you business yet, we're going to start going through the missing link of proactivity. We're going to start talking about the strategies, the scripts, the dialogues of talking to people that we don't know. How do you inject yourself into the business on a regular basis? 2-part session. So that'll be on May the 31st, and then 2 weeks after that, we'll do the other one. And then after that, we're going to dig into this Google thing because it's a big deal. And I've charged Maddie with the duty of doing all the research and figuring it out on exactly what the nuances are. So that's it for today. Thank you for your time. Unless you guys have some questions, as always at the end, we always open it up for questions. So you can either do it in the chat or you can do the Q&A or raise your hand and Maddie will let you speak. Any questions?
We had one earlier that I responded to in the chat, but they were just asking, how will you all be receiving the letters that Wayne referenced earlier? So the Friday following a Wednesdays with Wayne session, your broker host, the broker who invited you to Wednesdays with Wayne, will receive a follow-up email that'll have all of that information contained, and they will distribute that to you. So if you ever have any questions, make sure you check in with your broker host, or you're always welcome to email us and ask as well. Other than that, I think I don't think we have any other
No
questions.
question? All right. Hearing none, we are done. Guys, appreciate you all. Oh, here we go. Now we got a question.
It's just a thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
At some point I'll stop doing that to you, but I don't know when. Guys, thank you very much. Appreciate you all very much. Go out and get after it, like I told that guy last week. The word it's out there. There's opportunity. Just go maximize it. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.